give flowers to the legend. We're going to start Diana Taurasi. I'm going to bench Sabrina and cut Caitlin.
I would begin Diana Taurasi cuts and bench Sabrina. Hailey Van Lith just made Caitlin Clark a bullseye larger than Indiana with those remarks. The athlete, who has brought record viewership to women's basketball, was humiliated by the Chicago Sky rookie, who hasn't played a single WNBA minute.
But Hailey Van Lith, oh, you gave a bad answer.
You can practically feel the temperature rising throughout basketball country. The same Clark who defeated Van Lith by more than 40 points twice during his college career now has newfound motivation ahead of their match on May 16th. You may recall how Taurasi forewarned Clark about reality approaching before Clark left, and Van Lith made a similar error, without Taurasi's resume to support it.
Yikes. Right off the bat, she's feeling the fire from Caitlin Clark fans. Now, she's already felt some fire from Caitlin Clark in the past. To be honest with you, during some LSU Iowa games.
Let's take a quick look back at what could be the most personal revenge game of the season, which the basketball world is anticipating. The Chicago Sky just selected Hailey Van Lith in the draft, which is a proud and significant milestone in her career.
The 11th pick in the 2025 WNBA draft, the Chicago Sky select Hailey Van Lith, Texas Christian University.
However, she sparked controversy almost soon after the celebration, starting discussions all over again. The rookie Chicago Sky player was given a straightforward question regarding 3 WNBA players, and she actually decided to cut yes. Caitlin Clark is the phenomenon who is introducing women's basketball to millions of new people. Her response is the kind that makes you stop and question whether you heard it correctly.
I can cut Diana Taurasi since she's retired, and then I'm gonna start Caitlin Clark and bench.
There we go.
When other rookies were asked this question, they usually responded diplomatically by starting Clark, benching Sabrina Ionescu, and cutting Diana Taurasi. This respects veterans while acknowledging Clark's contribution.
By the way, I'm just going to say this. If it's right now, cool. The easy thing to do is just say cut Taurasi. She's 42. That's the easy thing to say. But if we're talking about all time, you know what? You probably start Taurasi. Like, Taurasi. Like, if we're talking right now, you clearly cut Taurasi. But you clearly, if it's right now, start Caitlin. There's no reason. Caitlin is not only currently better than Sabrina Ionescu, she's been historically better than Sabrina.
However, Van Lith boldly defied expectations by declaring that she would start Diana Taurasi, bench Sabrina, and cut. Commentators on Clark basketball pointed out this as a huge blunder right away, with one noting openly that HVL provided the incorrect response. The response was swift and extremely critical.
We're gonna start Diana Taurasi.
Fair. So now clearly you're gonna bench the player that scored 40 points twice against you the last 2 times you faced her.
I'm going to bench Sabrina and cut Caitlin.
Van Lith's decision is perplexing, particularly considering that she is a rookie bench player with little professional experience. One observer even compared it to a rookie making a dangerous mistake on their first day that may ruin her career before it ever began, disrespecting a CEO. The difference between Van Lith and her peers is striking, as other rookies carefully navigated the complex waters of entering a professional league. Social media quickly exploded, with some claiming she's creating a villain persona and others believing she misjudged the impact of her words. In any case, she's sparked a controversy that won't go away anytime soon. Van Lith jumped right into controversy, which begs important questions about her attitude. Is she overcompensating because she knows she'll be coming off the bench? Or is there a deeper reason for taking such a risky stand?
Hailey Van Lith, you are very lucky you are going to be sitting on the bench for the Chicago Sky this year, because Caitlin Clark is going to probably do unspeakable things to your team the first time you play this season.
Her confidence was evident in her body language during the interview. This wasn't a moment of confusion or a slip of the tongue. Rather, she made the decision with clear intent. Does she really think Clark is the least valuable of those 3 players? Or is this an attempt to project an air of fearlessness given their history of college matches in which Clark routinely outperformed Van Lith? This comment is even more perplexing because it puts Van Lith under pressure before her first professional game, just when first impressions count most.
Oh, you gave a bad answer. Especially consider the fact you're playing the Fever Game 1. And I hope Caitlin Clark. This is a person who has played the last 2 times she played Caitlin Clark. I'm not joking when I say this. Caitlin Clark put 40 on her team's head. Put 40 on her head directly once.
The basketball world is now closely following Van Lith, and she has put herself in a spotlight that is far more intense than she probably imagined. This spotlight feels even more strange when you realize that this isn't even their first chapter. It's just the most recent one. What happens when the player you publicly despise has already embarrassed you twice on national television? The history between Clark and Van Lith is so biased that you'd think Van Lith would be the last to cast a shadow. Let's go back to those games between Iowa and Louisville. Since 2023, Clark has dominated and humiliated Van Lith's side by averaging 40 points each game. That's no typo. Van Lith's defense allows 40 points per game. Van Lith was unable to stop Clark from moving around the court like a freight train, leaving defensive tactics in ruins.
Clark once again dancing with the basketball, seeing it go through the net.
Van Lith's utter annoyance is shown in the video evidence. There was the iconic moment when Clark made a deep three-pointer and the camera captured Van Lith's face, which was so distraught that she was on the edge of tears. This was someone going through the most agonizing public basketball lesson imaginable.
Look at Caitlin Clark. That's really good. That's really good. I mean, the look of pain on her face. Jesus again. Yeah.
It was impossible to overlook the talent difference between Clark and Van Lith. In one stretch of the third quarter, Clark blew past Van Lith with a slick crossover that was completed through contact, then pulled up from NBA range on the next possession and drilled a three while Van Lith was still backpedaling. Analysts agreed that this wasn't a match between equals. Clark was playing at a higher level, making a solid player look outclassed. One play said it all. Clark nailed a step-back three right in Van Lith's face, then jogged back on defense like it was nothing. Van Lith stood frozen, visibly deflated. It was like watching someone attempt to guard Jordan in his prime.
Most important things for Iowa in this game is to be able to secure defensive boards. LSU, an outstanding offensive rebounding team. Clark connects!
When you comprehend this history, Van Lith's choice to cut Clark is genuinely perplexing. It's part of the natural order in sports for most players to respect opponents who completely outperform them. Former players who watched this drama unfold have noted how uncommon it is for someone to dominate you so completely that you usually respect them rather than try to minimize their value. Basketball Psychology 100, and one you give credit to the athletes who point out your shortcomings because they helped you improve.
Hailey Van Lith seems to dislike Caitlin Clark since the Iowa vs. Louisville game.
Van Lith had first-hand knowledge of Clark's influence. She saw firsthand her genius and experienced the anguish of not knowing the solution. If anyone should admire Clark, it should be the one who had a front-row seat to her excellence. This is what makes the situation so perplexing.
Well, Caitlin Clark, if you ever set foot on the floor to guard Caitlin Clark, you better be pissed that your team drafted Sivka instead of Sanaya Rivers to guard Caitlin Clark. Because what Caitlin Clark is going to do to your team on May the 16th or 17th, whenever the game is going to violate the Geneva Convention.
This drama could not have been better written by the basketball gods. Mark May 16th on your calendar for one of the most anticipated revenge games in recent WNBA history. The Indiana Fever vs. Chicago Sky clash has become a must-watch basketball game since Van Lith couldn't help but poke fun at the Bear.
But I'm sorry, Caitlin put up 31 points and 12 assists. One of the best. I'm pretty sure, I'm not mistaken, it was the only 30-point, 12 assist game in the history of the WNBA against Chicago Sky last year.
With this new drive, recall Clark's incredible dominating performance against the Sky, where she scored 31 points and provided 12 assists before this personal grudge even existed. Clark appears to have boundless potential in the forthcoming matchup. The best basketball players in history have long utilized perceived disrespect as fuel for their performances, and this scenario carries on that legacy. Michael Jordan was renowned for turning even the smallest slights into fuel. He would invent rivalries to gain an advantage, and now Van Lith is providing Clark with her own bulletin board content on a silver platter.
Hailey, you don't want to give her more motivation. We saw what she did against Diana Taurasi. We saw what she did to the Mercury.
The issue is even more intriguing because it is similar to Clark's earlier experience with Diana Taurasi, in which Taurasi forewarned Clark that reality was on the horizon. However, Clark upped her game and disproved Taurasi. Taurasi's Hall of Fame resume and championship pedigree support her claims. Van Lith is making her league debut as an unknown rookie with no professional achievements to support her audacious position.
She just didn't have the greatest first half of the first game, and they just decided when they went down 15 to just go meep meep and just start running past them all, and they couldn't guard her. She'd just get a defensive rebound, and all of a sudden she'd just take off and score a layup.
Analysts of basketball are forecasting a historic showing. Given Clark's history against Van Lith and her capacity to rise to the situation, former WNBA players openly anticipate that she would drop 60 points as a statement. Van will be under a great deal of strain. Millions of basketball fans will be watching every defensive assignment and possession she has with Clark to see if she can somehow support her statements with her play. That's a big load for any rookie, especially one who is starting her career off the bench. Clark's competitive nature is well known. In basketball circles, she plays with calculated vengeance when she feels betrayed. This is known as bringing all the smoke, and Van Lith just gave Clark a flamethrower before her rookie season even started.
Just run by freaking salute for a layup. You're going to have to sit in a 2-3 zone. You're going to have to hope that Angel Reese can block some shots, because it's over. It's over. You have just given motivation to a person who does not need more motivation to beat your team.
Given that her remarks have effectively painted bullseye on everyone's backs, her Chicago Sky teammates may be understandably alarmed. One thoughtless interview response could have led to a season-long plot and made their matches against the Fever much more challenging. Every exchange between Clark and Van Lith will be examined, and the final meeting between these squads will have an electrifying atmosphere reminiscent of vintage NBA rivalries like Bird versus Magic. Will Van Lith regret her remarks after Clark's performance, or will she be able to overcome the task she set for herself? Each basket will tell a portion of the story.
I mean, honestly, it's clear to start Clark. Shake my head. HVL's such a hater. It's going to be bad.
There is a golden rule in athletics that all newcomers should be aware of. Select your words wisely. The choice made by Hailey Van Lith to declare in public that she would cut before her professional career even starts. Caitlin Clark has created what basketball insiders are calling a career-defining moment. Van Lith's timing couldn't be worse as a recently drafted bench player who has now put herself in Clark's crosshairs, a position that has historically ended poorly for challengers without credentials. Millions will watch this possible cautionary story play out on May 16th. Will Van Lith's remarks serve as her demise or as a catalyst? Watch as we dissect every second following the final buzzer.